Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
It is 11 minutes past 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and meanwhile it's 11 minutes past 7 in Western Australia, which is where I think we find Paul Bindig. G'day, Paul.
G'day, Rob. G'day, Neil. How are you, boys?
Doing very well indeed. You got Neil. The other voice is Rob. I've got to tell you, mate, that is 11 minutes of me filling. I've told everyone everything I know about Dark Side of the Moon, and was running out just the way you answered your phone.
Yes. I'll tell you what, gentlemen. When you're in Western Australia and you haven't had any sleep because of lag, and we just played a show last night, and we're running around getting ready this morning, I got myself a bit disorganised. So apologies to you and your listeners, gentlemen.
Yeah, you're right. Mainly to the listeners, because they've had to listen to me ramble on.
This is one of the great 50th birthday parties of all time, because we were talking earlier on and off air about the influence of this particular album on people of our vintage, teenagers back at that particular stage where the album was released. The music has lasted time, and it's certainly, you're a much younger gentleman than us, but it's had a big influence on your life as well, to the point that you want to take it to the world. And I loved when we had you on last time, you want to take it in its authentic originality, which we love about it.
Yeah, thank you. We certainly do endeavour to. I mean, our whole thing, we are all massive Pink Floyd fans.
You'd want to be.
Well, you do, yeah. You're right. You have to be. If you're going to, the amount of energy and time you put into rehearsal and listening and trying to get it as close as you can, if you didn't love the music, you would go insane. But yeah, that whole the promise that we try and give people who come to watch us is you're going to get memories of however you first came across the music and the experiences you had, whatever you were doing at the time when you first heard Great Gig in the Sky, or you know what you were up to. It hopefully brings those lovely memories flooding back and takes you back to a place and a time that you remember fondly.
And I think, you know, we're not blowing smoke up you know where on this one. I have two recollections of coming away from seeing Echoes of Pink Floyd at Costa Hall in Geelong. The first one was the man sitting next to me who coughed and spluttered all over me, and 2 days later I tested positive for COVID. I'm not holding you responsible for that, you understand. The second thing was the not only authenticity, but the skill levels. You standing up there in the back corner with 473 different devices loosely collected as keyboards. You've got a guitarist who plays just extraordinarily close and skillfully to the originals. The young lady who sings The Great Gig in the Sky and also helps on other tracks, just an amazing voice, and you know, pulls off what Sam Brown in 1994 did, and Carol, whatever her name was, in 1973, remarkably well. I guess the only thing that's different is that you have a standalone vocalist, as distinct from the other guys doing the vocals, as is the case with Pink Floyd. But if you close your eyes, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, although that's changed a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So what we've done, we now, so we still have our lead singer Matt, so that hasn't changed, of course. But we've shared the vocal capability around the band a little bit now.
Okay.
And I guess what that does from an audience point of view is that it's a point of difference. It creates a bit of variety from a viewer perspective. And also, as you gentlemen well know, and I'm sure your listeners do too, you know, Pink Floyd wasn't really about one lead singer. It was Gilmour was singing a lot of the songs, Waters was singing a lot of the songs, Richard Wright sang on a couple of tracks as well, and even Roy Harper guested on Wish You Were Here. So, and we've got some great vocal talent in the band. Jason, our drummer, is an excellent singer. Tony, our bassist, is an excellent singer. And you've already mentioned our female talent, Denise and Bree, who are brilliant. So, for the new show that we've created, that we're touring around this year and next year, we're sharing the vocal talent out, but Matt is still leading the charge out front, and he does a wonderful job of that too. So, it's but again, we don't try and be Pink Floyd the people. There were four of those gentlemen, and there's a lot more than that of us on stage, but. Again, as you guys and your listeners would know, to recreate that music live, but still have that, it sounds like the album sound, you just need a few more hands on deck to get that authentic sound.
Absolutely.
Paul, doing this, the amount of, as you said, the amount of rehearsal time it takes, and then go around, travel, do the shows, have you got any time left for you to do your own thing musically? Because I imagine someone like yourself with the great skill you've got, there's other things you'd like to do other than Pink Floyd, or is there just no time to do that?
Well, that's very kind of you to talk about great skill. I'm not too sure about that, but we certainly try hard and work hard at it. Look, various members of the band are involved in other musical projects. For example, Bree, who is one of our female vocalists, she's releasing her own original music at the moment. And she's just released an album, and she's got a second single which is dropping soon. Tony, our bassist, is in a couple of other bands. I'm in a couple of other bands as well. So we all have our own little musical projects. Matt does a bit of original music as well. So we've definitely got other musical interests that we pursue. There is time for that if you manage your time well. But Echoes of Pink Floyd is certainly the main game for all of us. We love it so much, and it gives us the opportunity to travel around the country and share the music, and also even do things like this, talking to you gentlemen, which is a lot of fun.
So, thank you, that's very kind. So, focusing our attention on Dark Side of the Moon, we've just played the track Time, and we're going to finish our conversation with you by playing Us and Them.
Great.
But it's a couple, to my way of thinking, it's an album in a similar fashion to Sgt. Pepper, where to get the full effect, you've got to sit down with a glass of wine at the start, play the first side of the record, and then turn it over and play the second half of the record, rather than picking tracks out. Is that fair?
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, the album is designed in such a way that the first side is essentially one continuous piece of music, and as is the second side. And the songs run in a certain sequence. There's an ebb and flow to them, and if you think about the very first track on the first side, which is called Speak to Me, and then it goes straight into Breathe, the intention there was almost to create the idea of emerging from the womb, and so you've got all the associated noise and sounds and things, obviously, which are samples from the rest of the album. But then you're emerging into the world, and then the first thing we do is we're breathing, we're being born, and we're alive, and we're experiencing the world, and it starts from there, and then when it flows, the way it flows through, it's certainly designed to be listened to in sequence. And as I said, you grab a glass of wine or whatever your particular poison is that you enjoy, and I'm sure many of your listeners have had the experience of maybe turning all the lights out and just cranking the album up super loud and just letting it wash over you. It's a lovely thing to do if you can.
I played it on my 1954 Philips Glidomatic record player, and the version that I had was the quadraphonic vinyl. Sadly, I don't have a quadraphonic record player, but it just to me was exactly the version. I've got about 15 versions of it on downloads and CDs and albums and all sorts of stuff, but it just seemed to me to be the right thing to do. So at 7:30 on Wednesday night, I went upstairs, got the record player cranked up, poured the glass of wine, and listened to the whole 43 minutes. And it is an exceptional experience, isn't it? And we just thought, given it's such an important day, we should talk to someone who's passionate about Pink Floyd, and you were the first one that came to mind. Yeah,
well, I'm really glad you did, fellas. It's we're in the middle of a couple of shows at the moment, and we're mentioning it to the audiences. And look, it's my 50th anniversary too. I turned 50 in December, so I'm only just ahead of the album. And actually, a couple of the other guys in the band are 50-year-olds too. So we're all sort of celebrating a 50th anniversary at the moment. But isn't it amazing that the music endures so well? It's such a special piece of music that 50 years later, it's still so popular. Everyone wants to talk about it. And, this thing's never been off the charts in the States. It's just broken all sorts of records.
And the nice thing for Rob is that it brings back memories, because he actually asked everyone to sit down for 43 minutes and sit down quietly at his 40th birthday. And asked everyone to sit and listen to it. That's not true.
Now, Paul, we have an aim on this show when we interview people of your ilk is to ask a question that you've never been asked before. So here's my crack at it.
Sure.
Knowing your other band members well, you play together, you work very hard, I want you to hypothetically answer, if Pink Floyd had never existed, which band would you be touring around the country covering? Oof.
Oh, wow. Gee, well, congratulations. You've achieved your goal.
Thank you.
Never been asked that. All right. I think there would be a case to be built for maybe a Dire Straits or maybe a Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
Yeah, without doing a straw poll of the boys, I reckon either of those would be, we love that music, and I think we'd do an okay job of it if we put our minds to it.
And either one of those would be very well worth listening to. Yeah. Particularly Fleetwood Mac, I think they get a few plaudits, but my goodness, when you put their whole body of work together, they have been sensational.
Well, and they've evolved, unlike Pink Floyd, they've evolved so much in their time, right, haven't they? From the early sort of real bluesy Peter Green time, and then the powerhouse album that is Rumours. But I'll, you know what? When I see the guys this morning, I'll ask them the same question, see if I got it right.
Yeah, okay, that would be good.
Because it's interesting. If someone said to me, "Right, put you up against the wall, gun at your head, what's the best album of the 1960s?" I would say Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah, mate.
Followed very closely by Abbey Road. Rob and I had a debate before we came on the air, which is the best album of the 70s, and I would suggest to you that it's Dark Side of the Moon. Rob says Hot August Night. But right behind those two, you would have Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. And if you asked me about what the album of the 80s was, you'd say Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. So you've just completed the set.
Oh, there you go. I've done well then. I've done well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, those are all brilliant albums too. I have a bit of a favouritism for Animals by Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a personal thing. I just love that album and the way it's done. But Dark Side, very hard to go past. It's culturally iconic. That's really what it boils.
Yeah.
Everyone sees that prism and they already know what that is.
Yeah.
I can't think of another album like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, Paul, we better let you go and do what you need to do at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry we woke you up early. I forgot that you were in Perth, but that's okay.
No, you didn't. It's so just to be honest with your listeners, it's my disorganisation that caused me to not dial in on time. So you guys get no blame for that at all. I knew all about the interview, anyway, we won't get into it. I just got myself a bit disorganised, but it's lovely chatting to you both. So thanks, Rob. Thanks, Neil, again for your time. And look, I do lots of these media interviews, and I genuinely get excited talking to you blokes because it's like it's two blokes chatting. It's actually a bit deeper and a bit more interesting. So thank you for your time.
No, thanks. Do you mind if we call our show Two Blokes Chatting? We might have a crack at that.
Why not? It's how it goes.
Paul, when are you next somewhere near our listeners to be playing your concert? Have you got a Victorian part of your tour coming up, or have you had that?
Yeah, no, we do. We're actually heading to Colac, which I believe
that's close.
Very close to you guys. So if you don't mind me pimping that on your show,
go for it.
I'm happy to share the details. So we did go to the GPAC last year, and we'll be back there next year. So we're definitely coming back. We tend to do a 2-year rotation, just because that's how long it takes us to get us all around the country. But we are playing at the Colac Otway Performing Arts and Cultural Centre on the 17th of March. So pretty soon, a couple of weeks.
Wow, that is very soon.
That is very soon. And that is fantastic, because on the back of that, 2 weeks ago, Neil and Sienna interviewed Tony Childs. She is playing that venue tonight in Colac. So if you haven't got a ticket and you'd like to get one, please give Copac a ring. There may be a ticket available to see Tony Childs. And if you miss out, then the Pink Floyd mob, they're coming to town on the 17th.
And guaranteed not to get COVID.
Well, I shouldn't say it's behind us, but I'm just glad to say all that the associated rubbish is behind us, and we're just into it and doing it, so it's nice.
I'll never forget you guys. Thanks for that. Paul, great to chat. Please, if you happen to be in Geelong on your way through to Colac and you've got time for a coffee, yell out. We'll stop and have a coffee with you. But very best of luck with your trip.
Do that.
Hopefully see you in Colac on the 17th. Paul, thank you so much for your time this morning. And like you, I love the chats. I love the openness and honesty, the way you deliver it. And good luck with your project.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. A pleasure as always. G'day to your listeners. And, pop on down to Colac and say hello to us.
Regards to the band. Chat to you soon.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks, Paul.